There is something truly extraordinary about the ability to stand alone, not because you have to, but because you choose to. Society tells us that being alone means being lonely, that it's something to be fixed or avoided, but I am here to tell you it is a gift, a power, a space where you meet the deepest, truest version of yourself. When you are alone, you hear things more clearly, not the noise of the world, but the voice inside you, the one that knows your worth, your strength, your dreams. You learn to trust yourself in the quiet, and trust that is power. When you stand alone, you stop looking for approval, you stop waiting for permission. You become the kind of person who walks into a room and doesn't need validation because you already gave it to yourself. And when you reach that place, no one can shake you. Solitude teaches you resilience. It builds your spirit, sharpens your mind, and fuels your vision. It is in those moments of stillness that ideas are born, breakthroughs happen, and strength is forged. So don't fear being alone. Embrace it. Honor it. Stand in it. Because when you can be powerful on your own, you become unstoppable with others. Being alone is not loneliness, it is self-discovery. It is in those quiet moments away from the noise of the world that you come face to face with the deepest parts of yourself. Society often equates solitude with emptiness. But solitude is not about what is missing, it is about what is found. It is an opportunity to strip away distractions, expectations, and the endless chatter of external influences, leaving you with only one thing: yourself. And in that space, the journey of self-discovery truly begins. When you are constantly surrounded by people, their opinions, their energy, their emotions, your own voice can get lost. You begin to shape your choices based on what others believe, what they expect, what they think is right. But when you step into solitude, you begin to hear your own thoughts without interruption. You start to recognize what truly matters to you, separate from what the world has told you to care about. You begin to ask yourself questions that you never paused to consider before. Who am I when no one is watching? What do I truly want? What brings me peace, joy, fulfillment? These are the questions that lead to clarity. There is a difference between being alone and feeling lonely. Loneliness comes from a sense of lack, a longing for connection that is not present, but being alone, when embraced, is not an absence, but a presence. A presence of self, of stillness, of personal power. It is in solitude that you learn to be your own companion, to enjoy your own company, to rely on yourself in ways you never thought possible. And when you reach that point, you realize that your happiness, your peace, your fulfillment do not depend on anyone else. They exist within you, waiting to be acknowledged. Self-discovery is not always comfortable. When you are alone, you are forced to face your fears, your insecurities, your past, your doubts. There is no one there to distract you, no noise to drown them out. But this is where growth happens. When you allow yourself to sit with those feelings, to understand them rather than run from them, you gain power over them. You start to see patterns in your thinking, in your behavior, in your choices. You begin to recognize what serves you and what does not. And from that awareness, change becomes possible. Spending time alone also nurtures creativity and innovation. Some of the greatest ideas, the most profound insights, the most groundbreaking works of art and literature were born in solitude. When the mind is free from distractions, it has the space to wonder, to imagine, to create. Without the influence of others shaping your thoughts, you begin to think in ways that are uniquely your own. You start to trust your intuition, to follow your curiosity, to explore without boundaries. Beyond creativity, solitude strengthens resilience. When you learn to stand on your own, to be comfortable in your own skin, to navigate life without constantly seeking reassurance, you become unshakable. You stop fearing being alone because you know that you are enough. You stop seeking validation from others because you have already validated yourself. You stop waiting for someone else to make you feel worthy because you have already claimed your worth. The world constantly pushes the idea that we must be surrounded by people to be happy, that we must be in relationships to feel complete, that we must always be connected, always be busy, always be engaged. But true fulfillment does not come from the outside, it comes from within. It is built in those quiet moments of reflection, in the conversations you have with yourself, in the understanding and acceptance of who you truly are. Embracing solitude does not mean rejecting relationships or connection. It means bringing a whole, strong, self-aware version of yourself into them. It means knowing who you are so deeply that when you do choose to connect with others, it is from a place of strength rather than need. It means realizing that your greatest relationship is the one you build with yourself. And that journey, that transformation, begins the moment you embrace the power of being alone. Solitude strengthens self-trust and inner wisdom. In a world that constantly demands attention, validation, and external approval, solitude creates a sacred space where self-trust can grow. When you remove the noise of expectations, opinions, and distractions, you are left with only yourself, and that is where the real work begins. Trusting yourself is not something that happens overnight. It is built in the quiet moments, when you have no one else to lean on, when you are forced to rely on your own judgment, when you make decisions based on what feels right for you rather than what others think. When you spend time alone, you learn to listen to your own instincts. The world teaches us to seek advice, to look for guidance, to follow the path that others have set before us. But solitude teaches us that we have an internal compass, an intuition that is always speaking to us if we are willing to listen. It is in moments of stillness that we begin to hear that voice clearly. We start recognizing the difference between fear and intuition, between impulsivity and wisdom. The more we trust ourselves, the stronger that voice becomes. Self-trust is the foundation of confidence. When you know that you can rely on yourself, that you can navigate challenges without always seeking external reassurance, you carry yourself differently. You stop second-guessing every decision. You stop over-analyzing every choice. You become someone who moves with certainty, who understands that even mistakes are part of growth. Every time you make a choice based on your own inner wisdom, you reinforce the belief that you are capable, that you are enough, that you can handle whatever comes your way. Inner wisdom is not something that comes from books or advice from others. It is cultivated through experience, through reflection, through paying attention to your own life. When you take the time to sit with your thoughts, to process your emotions, to reflect on your past choices, you begin to recognize patterns. You start to see what serves you and what does not. You begin to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, your triggers, your values, and from that awareness, wisdom is born. There is a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is gathered from the outside world, facts, data, experiences of others. But wisdom is internal. It is the ability to take that knowledge and apply it to your own life in a way that aligns with who you truly are. Wisdom is knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to push forward and when to step back, when to fight and when to surrender. It is the deep understanding that not everything requires a reaction, that some battles are not worth fighting, that some paths are not meant to be walked, and solitude is the soil in which that wisdom grows. The more time you spend in solitude, the more you learn to differentiate between what is truly yours and what has been placed upon you by others. So many people live their lives according to someone else's script, following traditions they never questioned, chasing goals they never truly wanted, adopting beliefs that were never their own. But when you allow yourself to be alone, to sit in stillness, to listen to your own soul, you begin to strip away the layers of conditioning. You start to see what is real and what is simply an illusion created by society, by family, by culture. You begin to reclaim your own path. Solitude does not mean isolation. It means connection to yourself, to your truth, to the wisdom that has always been inside you. It is a practice, a discipline, a commitment to knowing yourself so deeply that no storm, no criticism, no external pressure can shake you. It is in the quiet, in the moments when no one is watching, that true self-trust is built. And once you have that trust, once you have tapped into that inner wisdom, you no longer need the world to tell you who you are. You already know. Independence removes the need for external validation. From the time we are young, we are taught to seek approval, to be praised for good behavior, to be rewarded for meeting expectations, to feel valued when others acknowledge our worth. This conditioning follows us into adulthood, where we often measure our success, our happiness, and even our identity based on how others perceive us. But true freedom, true power comes when we no longer need external validation to define who we are. Independence is not just about being self-sufficient in a practical sense. It is about reaching a place where our confidence, our decisions, and our self-worth are no longer dependent on the opinions of others. When you cultivate independence, you take ownership of your life. You stop waiting for permission to chase your dreams. You stop relying on others to affirm your choices. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. Instead, you step into your own power, trusting that you are capable of making decisions that align with your truth. This shift does not happen overnight. It is a process of unlearning, of letting go of the deeply ingrained habit of seeking approval. But once you begin to rely on yourself, you realize that external validation was never the source of real fulfillment. One of the greatest gifts of independence is the ability to stand firm in your convictions. When you are no longer looking to others for approval, you are free to live in a way that is authentic to you. You no longer shape your opinions to match the crowd. You no longer compromise your values to gain acceptance. And you no longer feel the need to explain yourself to those who do not understand your path. This kind of inner strength is rare, but it is also magnetic. Because when you fully embrace your independence, others can sense it. They see the way you carry yourself with certainty, the way you make decisions with confidence, the way you live unapologetically. Letting go of external validation does not mean rejecting connection or community. It simply means that your self-worth is not tied to how others perceive you. You can still receive feedback, listen to opinions, and value relationships, but at the end of the day, your decisions come from within. You are no longer controlled by the fear of judgment or the need for approval. Instead, you move through life knowing that you are enough just as you are. Independence also strengthens resilience. When you no longer rely on validation from others, you become less affected by criticism and rejection. You understand that not everyone will agree with you, not everyone will support your journey, and not everyone will see your vision, and that is okay. You learn that self-acceptance matters more than social acceptance. You realize that the only approval you truly need is your own. Releasing the need for external validation allows you to take risks, to explore, to grow without fear of failure. So many people hold themselves back because they are afraid of what others will think, afraid of looking foolish, afraid of being judged, afraid of not being liked. But when you are independent, you recognize that growth comes from stepping outside of your comfort zone, regardless of how it looks to others. You no longer live for applause. You live for purpose, for passion, for your own fulfillment. The most powerful people in the world are not those who are the most liked or the most praised. They are the ones who stand in their truth, even when it is unpopular. They are the ones who refuse to be defined by outside opinions. They are the ones who choose themselves every single time. That is the power of independence. It is not about proving anything to anyone. It is about knowing that you have nothing to prove in the first place. Time alone fuels creativity, resilience, and personal growth. In a world that constantly demands attention, where distractions are endless and noise fills every empty space, solitude becomes a rare and powerful tool. It is in these moments of stillness, away from the influence of others, that the mind is free to explore, create, and transform. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history, whether in art, science, literature, or philosophy, were born in solitude. Because creativity thrives when the mind has the space to wander without limitations. When you are alone, your thoughts are no longer shaped by external voices. There is no pressure to conform, no need to filter ideas through the expectations of others. You are free to imagine, to question, to experiment. Creativity does not flourish in overcrowded spaces. It needs room to breathe. When you give yourself that space, whether through journaling, walking in nature, or simply sitting in quiet reflection, you allow new ideas to emerge. You tap into a part of yourself that often remains hidden beneath the demands of daily life. The most original and inspired work comes from those who have learned to embrace solitude, to sit with their thoughts without fear, to trust their own creative instincts. Beyond creativity, solitude builds resilience. In the absence of constant external validation and distraction, you learn to rely on yourself. You begin to face challenges head-on, developing a deeper sense of inner strength. Life will always bring obstacles, setbacks, and uncertainty, but when you have spent time alone strengthening your ability to navigate your emotions and thoughts, you become unshakable. You learn that you can endure discomfort without needing immediate reassurance from others. You develop the kind of resilience that allows you to stand tall even when life tests you. Solitude teaches you to process failure, not as a defeat, but as a lesson. It shows you that setbacks are temporary and that growth often comes from the moments when you are forced to push through difficulty on your own. Personal growth is impossible without self-awareness, and self-awareness is impossible without solitude. When you spend time alone, you begin to see yourself more clearly. You notice the patterns in your thinking, the habits that serve you and the ones that hold you back. You start to reflect on your choices, your desires, your values. You learn to sit with your emotions rather than escape them. Growth happens in these quiet moments when you are honest with yourself, when you stop running from the things that need to change and start confronting them with courage. Time alone allows for deep introspection, helping you break free from autopilot living. So many people go through life without ever truly examining who they are or what they want. They follow routines, chase goals set by others, and measure success based on external standards. But solitude gives you the space to redefine success on your own terms. It helps you strip away the distractions and focus on what truly matters to you. It allows you to reconnect with your purpose, to set goals that align with your authentic self, to make decisions from a place of clarity rather than pressure. When you embrace solitude, you realize that you are not missing out, you are leveling up. You are giving yourself the gift of depth, of transformation, of expansion. You are nurturing the creative spirit within you, strengthening your resilience, and stepping into a version of yourself that is more self-awareness, more confident, and more powerful than before. And that kind of growth is something no one can take away from you. Embracing solitude builds an unshakable foundation of confidence. Confidence is not something that comes from the approval of others, nor is it something that can be handed to you. It is built from within. It is forged in the moments when you stand alone, when you learn to trust yourself, when you realize that you are enough without needing external validation. The world often teaches us that confidence comes from how others see us, from success, from popularity, from constant affirmation. But true confidence is something deeper, something unshakable, and it is cultivated through solitude. When you spend time alone, you learn to become your own source of validation. You stop seeking permission to be who you are. You no longer wait for applause, approval, or reassurance before taking action. Instead, you develop an inner knowing, a certainty that you are capable, that your voice matters, that your presence is valuable, regardless of who is watching. This is the kind of confidence that cannot be easily shaken because it does not rely on anyone else's perception. It is not built on fleeting praise or temporary recognition, but on a deep, unwavering belief in yourself. Solitude forces you to confront yourself in a way that nothing else does. When you are constantly surrounded by people, it is easy to hide behind distractions, to avoid your insecurities, to rely on others to fill the spaces where doubt exists. But in solitude, there is nowhere to hide. You are faced with your thoughts, your fears, your self-perceptions. And this is where transformation happens. When you learn to sit with yourself, to accept yourself fully, flaws and all, you develop a level of self-assurance that does not waver in the face of criticism or rejection. You begin to realize that your worth is not conditional, that it does not fluctuate based on how others perceive you, and that you do not need to prove anything to anyone. Confidence is not about being the loudest person in the room or always having the right answers. It is about being secure in who you are, even in moments of uncertainty. Solitude strengthens this by teaching you self-reliance. When you navigate life independently, making decisions without constant input from others, you develop trust in your own judgment. You learn to listen to your intuition, to follow your own instincts, to move forward without second-guessing yourself. The more you do this, the stronger your confidence becomes. Another powerful aspect of solitude is that it helps you detach from comparison. In a world driven by social media where everyone's highlights are constantly on display, it is easy to fall into the trap of measuring your worth against others. But when you spend time alone, away from the noise, you gain clarity. You begin to focus on your own journey instead of constantly looking sideways. You realize that your path is unique, that your success is not determined by how it measures up to someone else's, and that the only person you truly need to impress is yourself. When you embrace solitude, you also cultivate a presence that is undeniable. People who are comfortable being alone radiate a different kind of confidence, one that does not seek attention, one that does not demand validation, but one that simply exists. This kind of presence is magnetic because it comes from a place of authenticity. It is the confidence of someone who knows themselves deeply, who is at peace with who they are, who does not need to prove their worth because they have already claimed it. Embracing solitude does not mean isolating yourself from the world. It means building a foundation so strong that no matter where you go, no matter who you are with, no matter what challenges arise, your confidence remains intact. It means knowing that you are whole on your own, that your worth is not dependent on circumstances, and that no external force can shake what you have built within yourself. This is the power of solitude. It does not weaken you, it fortifies you. It does not make you lonely, it makes you limitless. True power comes from standing strong in your own presence. Power is often misunderstood. Many people believe it comes from status, wealth, influence, or the ability to control others. But real power, the kind that cannot be taken away, comes from within. It comes from knowing who you are, standing firmly in that truth, and carrying yourself with unshakable confidence, no matter where you are or who is around you. This kind of power does not need validation, does not seek permission, and does not waver in the face of doubt. It is the power of presence, and it is cultivated through solitude. When you are truly comfortable with yourself, you bring a different energy into every space you enter. You are no longer trying to blend in, to impress, or to be something you are not. You exist fully in your own authenticity, and that presence speaks louder than words. People who stand strong in their own presence do not demand attention, they command it effortlessly. There is a calmness about them, a quiet confidence that makes them. This is not arrogance, it is certainty. It is the energy of someone who knows their worth and does not need to prove it. Standing strong in your presence means being rooted in self-awareness. It means knowing your values, your strengths, your purpose. It means carrying yourself with dignity, regardless of the situation. When you have spent time alone reflecting, growing, and truly understanding yourself, you develop an internal foundation that cannot be shaken by external forces. You are no longer easily influenced by opinions, no longer thrown off course by criticism, no longer dependent on the approval of others. You become the kind of person who moves through the world with intention, with clarity, with an energy that others respect. There is something incredibly powerful about a person who does not shrink themselves to make others comfortable. Many people spend their lives trying to fit into molds that were never meant for them, afraid to take up space, afraid to be fully seen. But when you stand in your own presence, you refuse to make yourself small. You speak with conviction. You walk with purpose. You take up space unapologetically, not because you are trying to be noticed, but because you know you belong. This is power, the kind that does not fade, the kind that does not depend on external factors, the kind that lasts. The strongest people in the world are not the ones who dominate others. They are the ones who have mastered themselves. They are the ones who are at peace in solitude, who do not fear being alone, who are content in their own company. They are the ones who do not chase after attention because they have already claimed their own worth. They are the ones who can walk away from anything that does not serve them because they know they are enough on their own. This is the ultimate form of power, not control over others, but mastery over yourself. Standing strong in your presence also means being unwavering in your truth. There will always be people who misunderstand you, who question your choices, who try to shake your confidence. But when you are grounded in who you are, none of that matters. You do not bend to please others. You do not change to fit expectations. You do not silence yourself to avoid discomfort. Instead, you hold your ground. You trust yourself. You honor your path, knowing that true power is not about pleasing the world. It is about being true to yourself, The world respects those who respect themselves. When you walk with certainty, when you carry yourself with quiet strength, when you embrace who you are without hesitation, people notice. Not because you seek their recognition, but because true presence is rare. Most people are caught up in seeking approval and trying to be what others expect. But when you stand firm in your authenticity, you set yourself apart. You inspire others not by what you say, but by how you exist. This is the essence of real power. It is not something that can be given to you, nor is it something that can be taken away. It is something you cultivate within yourself, something you build in solitude, something you embody with every step you take. And once you have it, you are unstoppable. Real power is not found in the noise of the world. It is found in the silence where you meet yourself. It is built in the moments when you stand alone, unshaken, unafraid, and unapologetically yourself. When you no longer need approval, when you no longer shrink validation, when you no longer shrink to fit spaces that were never meant for you, that is when you step into your true power. Because the most powerful person in any room is not the loudest, not the most followed, not the most praised. It is the one who knows exactly who they are, the one who does not waver, the one who stands strong in their own presence, the one who has embraced solitude, mastered self-trust, and no longer needs the world to tell them their worth. That is the kind of power no one can take away. That is the kind of power that lasts